So with that small introduction, I would just add what I do as a cloud advocate in Microsoft. So we are M365 cloud advocacy team in Microsoft, where we talk about Microsoft Teams and Microsoft Graph, the technology behind it. So main focus of our team is to form a bridge between the developers and our product team. So we have a product, we have SDKs, we have samples, the whole technology widespread. But how do we make it easy for the developers? That's probably part of our job. So we hear what you have to say. We go back to the engineering team. We talk to engineering team, deep dive into things, and we come back and explain things to you. So this is what we usually do. So today I'm going to be talking about Microsoft Teams platform A to Z. I just said this very casually, but you really cannot learn A to Z in this one session. I promise you that. But I will try my best to give you an overview of what you need to know, and I will point you to things you need to go ahead and have a research or study at your own pace. So before we start explaining each capability and each feature available in which you can build apps for Teams, the first thing I would want everybody of you here to understand is why you need to build apps for Teams. So that's one question you need to always ask whenever you're doing something, not just apps. In any case, if you're doing something, ask yourself why you're doing it. Because most often, and this is also a good explanation, or probably like a brainstorming together on why you should be suggesting this to your manager. I want to build apps for Teams, but why? Is one thing you always have to talk, and this is not a decision that developers make. It's probably a decision that's made at the CTO level or an architect level, who goes to the client and suggests, you do this way, and that this makes your life easier in the modern workplace. So these kind of conversations are pretty important, I would say, for developers to come up and ask their company to start thinking into building apps for Teams, so that you can go ahead and do the actual work of developing it. So I'm going to show you a demo, and this is based off on this app, which is the HR Talent app. And I'll put the link in. It's actually an open source sample that's available. Unfortunately, it's in C Sharp, but you can go ahead and have a look. And that app contains most of the capabilities that you can build on Teams, like bots and tabs and connectors and everything. So this demo, actually Bob, I already mentioned, who is my colleague, Bob German, who I do videos with. He has done a demo of it, and I have, like, I love that demo because I didn't want to redo it again because he's done it so well. So I've asked him, and he's graciously offered us to use the video for the demo so that you can actually see this consulting scenario, this application working. But before going into even that application, let me show you something that he has demoed. So this is just a video, so I'm gonna talk over it. I'm gonna show you the features, etc. So this is a consulting scenario. So like HR, you've got your human resource system. So this is a company where people come in and recruit candidates, do interviews, and then hire them or not hire them. So this is the scenario of that system, how it works, and how their team works together in teams. So let's jump into this video. So Tony is, so let's see if Bob German is that person who's going to do all the conversation and stuff with their teammates. Tony is Bob's, he's the boss. So Tony has sent an email to Bob saying that they have won this huge project. Now we need to start working on it immediately, but they need developers for that. So that's an email. Now, Tony is pretty old school. He likes to do emails instead of Teams. So let's keep that in mind. Oops, what did I do? Sorry. This is why I don't like videos, because I click and click. Sorry about that. But so, can you see my screen? Okay.
Yes, still we can see
Yeah.
email.
Cool, cool, cool. So after that email, what happens is Bob is demonstrating us how he uses Teams in a daily basis. So this is for folks who actually are pretty new in Teams and are trying to focus on what's happening inside the app. It's the same with us, right? When we download a new app, you want to kind of know where the navigation system is. So I'm just going to give an overview of that. So you've got the activities here. So all the notification that comes to you, you've got chat, you've got the teams. This is where you would meet all your team members. You've got your calendar where your meetings like this are, your calls, speed dials. You've got your files, which is your OneDrive and space where you put your files in. And this is a Shift app, which I think is a first party app from Microsoft for Shifts. Now, this is how Bob, the user, navigates. And here in apps, you can see all these apps. And now there are first-party apps as well as you have the third-party apps. And we are here to discuss to put applications, build application that will be in here in these stores. So these are all probably a mix of both first party as well as third party applications. So this is how you can find things in Teams. And here you can see here someone has already, this is their team and their someone is speaking French, typed a message in French. And the good thing about Teams is you can translate and see for any languages. And now Bob is in a sticky situation, right? So he needs to find a developer as soon as possible. He is at mentioning the general, which you should not do. This is very desperate, but he is at mentioning the general and putting a message in Teams so that someone has to find a candidate as soon as possible because they won the deal, right? Now seeing this message, Katie has replied back saying that she has a great candidate, but she does not have a job description file, which Bob has to provide. And now this is the common thing that we do, that we have, if someone is asking for a document, we would go to our files and we would pick a similar document. Say if it's a requirement document, then we would take an older project's document and we rename it and we change few description and we would just put that file in, right? So it's the same thing Bob's doing here. He's going into one of the older job descriptions, changing the file name into whatever he needs now. I think it's like a IoT developer or something. So he's just gonna rename it, and he probably will go ahead and change a few things inside the document. So you will see here he is updating the job code. He has to remove that because it's a new job description. He has to definitely put the roles and responsibilities that's required for this particular job. So he's putting that in, and now he's happy. He's done all the work. He's pulling in the chat from within the Word document inside Teams, and he's having a conversation again with Katie. So Katie had asked for a job description file. He is now ready. He's at mentioning her and putting the file in, and Katie likes it. He is also now collaborating. You can see the green circle around her. That means that she's also collaborating now with Bob. They're both editing the document. And Katie is updating stuff based on the HR system, and she's good to go. Now, what happens next? I think that's, yeah. Tony, finally, he has figured out how to do a message or a chat in a team. So he has messaged Bob. Let's see what he has to say. So he says he's pretty excited about the project that we all know because he's messaging from, he's putting an email from Outlook, he's doing messages from Teams, he's just going everywhere. So now he wants a React experience as well, not just IoT experience. Well, hey, this is how work does. I mean, you have your boss always asking for next thing, next thing, next thing. So, I'm not saying all bosses are like that, but Tony is specifically like that. So now Bob has to come back to the team where he was already communicating with Katie, and he's mentioning, oh, we need React experience. Sorry about that. We need more stuff. Now it's going a bit back and forth. Now Tony is coming back asking for CV. Bob has a lot of work to do, and he's just going on and becoming this bridge between two people actually, because Katie is doing all the candidate search and Tony's asking for things after things after things. So good idea. Now Bob's gonna pull a group chat with Katie. So this is the context of group chat. Now, Tony and Katie are all in one place because Tony could not come to the team and have a chat. Now they're going to have a more restricted chat where they can talk about everything. Now, Tony wants a CV, so Katie would be ready with the CV of a candidate. So now she has shared that in. Document again, document open in Teams. They're all collaborating in this document. They're happy with it. Tony's reading the document as well. He likes it, and he is pretty much, the entire day's work is going good. Now, what we learned from this small demo that I showed you is that we have not used any of the custom stuff. Everything you have seen there is Teams. Teams having a Word document being opened. It does not ask you to go ahead and open something in the browser and then or open a system where they can view these documents or anything. Microsoft Teams has Word inbuilt so they can read document. People are pulled into this scenario where you're working. Katie is pulled into a chat between Tony and Bob, at mentioning collaboration. All this is happening already inside Teams, and this is all using the first party features in Teams. Now imagine you have a separate system like a HR system, like for example that job code. What if all that for all that information you didn't have to go to a browser, log into another system, but you had everything you need inside Teams? That is the answer to the why question, why you need to build custom applications for Teams. Because you saw how easy it was for Bob to stay in Teams. Not once did he open another app. He did not open an email. Of course, first time he opened an email, but that's because Tony had a problem with Teams. But every other conversation, everything, he didn't even have to write 10 different emails to 10 different people. All he has to do is pull people in, have conversation, etc. So that is basically how you should reason with your clients, or when you're actually proposing for building apps for teams. This is how you should envision that. How can their work in the modern workplace be made easy using your application? So that's why I showed you that demo. Now, in next one, I'm going to show you with custom applications. Like I mentioned, this is the link that you can go to get the source code for this. What I will be showing you. This is the Talent app. I think this was a open source app by Microsoft. So let's jump in and see tabs, bots, and adaptive cards. And moving forward, you will know exactly what these are. And I will try my best to explain as best possible what these capabilities are and how you can build. Now, next demo we have, I'm going to be showing you the third-party application. Third-party custom applications that you can have inside Teams that you can use. So here you have a hiring board, which is a tab. So think of tabs like websites, but they're within Teams. So there are different ways you can build that, but let's just go ahead and see the demo where they're working together and I'm now logged in as Katie, and she's going ahead and adding information that everybody can use in that team. So this is a hiring board tab, and she's going to go ahead and add a new tab. She wants to see a tab where all the candidates who have applied for a particular job ID can be seen. So because that's the most important stuff she needs to focus on right now. Remember the Contoso deal and how Tony wants everything to happen pretty urgently. So this is now Katie's main focus of the day, going into here and looking for applicants who are applying for that particular job. So she has made her life easy by putting that in a tab in Teams, so she can go ahead and look if there are new candidates coming in. So that's one example of how you can use tabs. Now, this is bot. So she's mentioning your custom talent application and asking for a list of open positions. Again, a conversation. That is what bots are about. You are conversing with a bot to get information back from it. Tabs basically just put all the information out there for you. It's just like a website, but you may not want certain information, but it will still put it out there. But bots, they specifically understand. Well, I have to say a bot that is intelligently built, because there are really other bots as well, which I have absolutely no patience, especially some of the banking bots that I've seen, which goes on and on and asking questions. Don't build that kind of bots. I'm just saying about an ideal bot, which will actually give you information back. So here, Katie is asking for all the open positions. She can view these positions, and the full stack developer is the one that she's focusing on, like we mentioned before. She clicks on that. This is a nice looking card that can be clicked, and some action is being done on it. And you can see another nice looking card which has all the information that she or her team needs to understand what to be done on these information. So that is done by a rich card, and it's actually done through adaptive cards, which I will go again into deep. So you kind of understand now the different scenarios that you can work with these custom applications. So what we have seen here is tabs, which are web pages, bots, which could be a Azure bot, and an adaptive card, which is basically a JSON file. Next, we'll see a task module, which is like a web page or a card that is opened up as a dialogue. Now, most of the time, you would need these kind of experiences, so you don't actually send your user somewhere. You can actually get information from the user using a task module, like a dialog pop-up, so you can fill in information and then you can send it back to wherever it should go. All right, so in this situation now, we're again in the bot. And let's see what Katie is up to now. She's creating a position. So creating a position obviously requires you to have information being input, right? So now she opens up a task module, which is a form you can see here, and she can go ahead and do everything in here, like creating the posting. She can see how it is, how it looks, and then she can put that information back into the talent HR system right here in Teams. Again, no browsers open, no logins done to another system. She's doing everything in here, and she's making use of all the features and capabilities that Teams has. So that's what's happening in this section. Now that we've seen that, we will shortly see what messaging extensions are, again in the same context of this app. And there are other things too in this application, but since we are pressing on time and I have a lot to cover now, we're just going to focus on very main things just for you to understand that, hey, these are all the different ways in which you can make your application useful and extend it to these capabilities. So let's see here now. This is a messaging extension. From the message, she's opening up the app and searching for information, which is a candidate information, and clicking on that and bringing out that information. Now, this is super useful, at least in my opinion. I would think that instead of finding information in another application, if I can find all that I need to do my work within Teams, that will be awesome. Like what you're seeing here, a search-based messaging extension. And I'll talk about these capabilities in deep in a few slides. So this is basically a messaging extension again in the Talent app. Now that you've seen how most of these things work, I want to talk a bit more on what your application is in Teams. So you can see here you have the Teams client, the first box, which is your client application, the stuff we're using right now for this meeting, and your application, your tab, which could be hosted anywhere. And you have this layer of Office apps, which are powered or you can authenticate and authorize using Microsoft Azure's Azure Active Directory. All these apps, all these services are something you can utilize and use within your application using well, before I talk about Graph, let me just quickly say that you have your client, which is your client application that you're using for this meeting. You have your application, your Teams app, your custom Teams app is basically a combination of a manifest file, which is a JSON file, and two icons. That's all. And that manifest file is what ties your application to the client. All the information that your Teams client needs will be in that manifest file. And to communicate with all these amazing services available across M365, you can use Microsoft Graph. And that's probably one of the themes in this talk that I mentioned, that Microsoft Graph is like a sibling to Microsoft Teams. Why? Because this is one single API that you can use to get all the information and data from these other M365 services right into your application. And you might ask me, why do you need it? Like, I have an application that does everything independently. I don't really need M365 data. But if you're building an application, build it on top of intelligence from data. Data intelligence is something that's getting far more advanced and advanced every time you use an application, whether it's a Teams application or not. You're using WhatsApp, you're using Facebook. Everything is based and it revolves around the data that's built about you. So similarly, if you want to leverage M365 as a platform, your application should be aware of things that it needs so that it can be smart about it, like understanding who your teammates are, understanding who your manager is, what is your presence, are you online or not. These kind of things does make your application or your custom application more intelligent. So Microsoft Graph is, hence I declare that is one of the important bits that you need to put into your application thoughtfully. And it is a single API, and Teams application in itself relies on getting your team structure, your organization, doing stuff on behalf of you, getting your files, etc. Now, to call a Graph application, you need to register an application in Azure AD. There are things called permissions that you need to set. Permissions will give your application the right to do in the right scope. So you're not giving every permission on the planet for the application to do. That can be dangerous. And your app requests are basically, you can request for access token, and these tokens actually carry the permissions as well. It's not just the services it's calling. These tokens will give you an idea of what this application can do with it. And then if it's successful, you'll get all sorts of prompt based on who you are, an admin or a user. And then it will give you this token back, with which you can call the API for Graph. So that's basically the underlying thing you need to take. So basically, if you know how to do a HTTP request, you're good to go. Your life is set in M365 development platform. Now, since we're talking about APIs, there is something of a little chart I want to show you where there are these SDKs and things. It gets really confusing, even for seasoned developers. It's really confusing because there are so many things there available. Now, for any Active Directory authentication sort of things, you can use the client-side library MSAL. Depends actually. It depends on the flow you want to go into, etc. And for a Graph, you have Graph SDK to get into all the services in Microsoft 365. Then for Teams, depending on the language that you choose, whether C Sharp or JavaScript, you can take their SDK as well. So Teams SDK gives your client the context of Teams, the information related to Teams. Um, you also have Bot Builder SDK. If you're a developer, I would say you will be mostly using Bot Builder SDK for your bots, because that's the easiest way you can plug in authentication, API calls, etc. into your bot. And Azure Bot Service is nothing but a platform where you could host your application, which is a bot. So that's basically an overview. I hope I didn't confuse. It can get really deep. And Smita, let me know if I have more time. I do have a lot to cover, but let me know how fast I should go. What time is good for me to stop from now?
No, miss, at least we still have 15 more minutes. So please
Oh,
feel free
awesome.
to close your room. Yes.
Yeah, I
And
have
again,
a
if you want to
lot,
extend,
but
please feel free. Yeah, sure.
no worries. Thanks a lot, Nandi. But I am just being mindful because we have other speakers. Cool. So like I said, Microsoft 365 or the Teams developer platform is not something to be taken lightly, because there's just it's really big. And this is just a summation of all the things you could do, all the capabilities. And this is thanks to my other colleague, Tomomi. Tomomi is my colleague who does doodling and who is like our creative head inside our team. She did this to sort of grasp everything together and say this is what Teams platform is. So you have tabs, bots, messaging extension, task modules, meetings, webhooks, and connectors. We've got the Power Apps section, which I completely have to go in and study from beginning. And then there's Microsoft Graph. So next up, I'm just gonna say tabs, bots, messaging extension, and webhook are probably the one things I will be focusing on. I'll just firstly say tabs because I don't have the slide for tabs, but you already saw a tab. It's like a web page that will give information, and this is how you can represent it. So any graph, charts, dashboards, or any information that you want to put out there, you can use a tab. You can have settings for your tab so that it takes the query parameter and shows a different data. Like you said, like you saw before, where Katie was filtering the position for that particular positions. I want to see all the applicants. So you can basically set in a Teams context, you can set the data of what you're showing based on the settings. In a personal tab, however, you won't be able to do settings, but personal tabs are used when you want to show your stuff, like the logged in users information or anything that they want to see. So tabs are basically just to show stuff out there. And bots, I might go into detail because I love bots and I am a bit crazy about bots myself. I'm still learning. Like I said, I'm no expert, but I will try and explain the things to you that I know. Now, bots are applications that users interact with, and that's the thing. It's like a conversation that's happening between two people, but it will bring out information in the form of text or cards or even speech. And this is a little cheat sheet that I've put out there for my folks who are get really lost in the jargons of bot. I myself am a victim to it. I'm sometimes like, oh, what is an SD? Okay, that was the service. Okay, that was handler and things like that. So I went ahead and put this cheat sheet so I can come back and do a little cheat and see what it is. So basically, this is all the stuff that if you go into detail into the documentation, you will find it, and it would be coming back to you saying this is what's happening, and then you probably need to know what's happening behind it. So I'm not going to go read through all of it, but this is something you can use maybe later on. I will explain quickly how bot works, like the how everything works behind the scenes. Now, this phone that you see here, that's the channel, and channel is your communication application, any application that you use to communicate with your bot. So you have Teams, Slack, or even Facebook Messenger. They're all channels. And Bot Frameworks Channel Service is actually the online API portal or online all the API services that's available in Azure for communicating with your channel. So you have a bot, you have something that's hosted online that can bring in information and chat with your channel, and that what helps to communicate is what a bot framework channel service is, and that's what you need. That's why you need to register your bots in Azure for this communication to happen between teams. Now, your bot is nothing but a web service. So if you already have a web service, you probably just need to add the adapter and the SDK just to make it more easy for you. And then that would be hosted anywhere in the internet. If it's accessible over the internet, that's it. That's you're good to go. Your bot is ready now. So that's what your bot is, and activities basically are, um, sorry, things that happen in the communication channel. Sorry, the communication application, which is the channel. So, like putting a message in or liking a message, they're all activities. So, whatever activity the user is doing with that application, that's an activity. So this is basically the concept, okay? And there are certain things like turns, dialogues, and conversation between a user and a bot. And I've put this. This is again thanks to Bob. Bob had this diagram in, and this is very useful to understand how things work. Like you have a user saying hello, and the bot says a hello back. That's one turn, that whole turn. Then if you want to go ahead and order a pizza in, that whole conversation, with each turn, with each dialogue, that brings out an information back from the bot, and the whole conversation that has happened. This is really good to understand that this is how it is. When you look into the code, you might see turns, dialogues, and things, conversation update, and things like that. So it's better to understand this in a small pictorial way. Now, to understand how it all works together, this is again, we have the same situation that we saw earlier, right? You have the channel, you have the bot framework service, and your bot. So what really happens, it's really good to show you in the example of an EcoBot, because EcoBot does nothing but reply back with the same message that you typed. So if you typed hi, it would say you said hi. So this is really good. This is a very useless bot. EcoBots should never be on production, but it's a good bot to show how things work between the channel and your web service. So it sends basically all this message is actually a HTTP post that is going to your bot framework service. Remember the API and the online portal. So that sends it to the adapter, which is what you would use in your SDK to authenticate. So you have an app registered for your bot. That app ID and secret would then authenticate, and the adapter processes your bot, and it creates a turn with your bot. The bot then goes ahead and looks in their code to see, what activity has come from this particular channel, and then processes the information. In our case, it's actually a message, to send a message to the channel again, which is a request that goes back to the channel, and they're both sending the status okay, and that turn ends. That's it. This is how it works. It's a series of post requests happening between your bot and your channel. So to create a bot for Teams, there are various ways you can do this. Bot Framework SDK for developers, Bot Composer, and Power Virtual Agent for folks who are a bit more used to the Power Platform side of things, low code, no code stuff. Virtual Assistant, which basically is like, I think it's a Visual Studio template where you can just go ahead and create a bot template out of it and then publish and stuff. And webhook and connectors are basically any webhook or any connector that you can build. You can also utilize it for bots. But as a developer here who develops stuff, I think Microsoft Bot Framework SDK is probably the best bet for if you want to customize your bot further without any conditions. Like you might be facing issues when you do low code and stuff. You can bypass all that if you're using an SDK, and it actually makes your life pretty easy. You don't have to. There are APIs that you can run directly, but why would you do that when you have SDKs, right? So I would clearly suggest that. Now, for bots with Microsoft Bot Framework, these are three things you need. Your web service, which is accessible, hosted by you anywhere in the cloud, bot registration, and that is needed because you need that service, right? The bot framework service inside the Azure bot to actually communicate with teams. And then you also need the app manifest to make sure that your Teams client, that client where you're actually having this meeting, to actually understand that, oh, okay, I need to call this web service whenever something is at mentioned with this bot. So you need all these three things put together. You will have a bot for Microsoft Teams. Messaging extension is very similar to what we all are famously, notoriously famous to use, which is the Giphy app. Like if you know Giphy, this is what I always say. If you know Giphy, if you use Giphy apps, you probably know what messaging extensions are. Anything that enhances your message. So, say you want to send happy birthday, you probably, if you're a very very funny colleague, then you would search for a GIF and then send that sticker or GIF for your colleague. So that basically is actually a bot. I mean, but in the sense of a team, it's like a bot, a messaging extension, then goes ahead and calls the API for Giphy, gets the information based on a search parameter, and bring that Giphy or the sticker back in, and then send that card to the conversation. That is messaging extension. There are three types of messaging extensions: search-based, which is the Giphy one I said, action commands, which are basically the one you saw in the demo earlier, where you capture information and put that in a card. That's an action-based messaging extension. And link unfurl. Now, link unfurl, the name is scary, but it's actually pretty simple. If you copy a URL from YouTube, put that in the compose area of your WhatsApp, it becomes a card. In a few seconds, it becomes a nice looking card. If you've noticed that, that's link unfurl. So based on what kind of URL you're putting in Teams, if you want to give that a more enhanced look so that people actually look into your message, that's something you can do using messaging extension in Teams. So that's pretty useful if you think about it. Like I'm taking a URL from my app, like my web browser in the HR system of some candidate. Imagine I'm just taking that and putting in a conversation. How many people would actually look into that URL? It's like, whatever. But what if I put that in and then the messaging extension realizes it's coming from a domain where I need to unfurl that link and show a card of that candidate and some information and then put that in? People might look into more. So this is another way of engaging people into applications. So that's another thing you can do. So, and what you'll need for a messaging extension, same thing, what you saw for bot, your web service, your bot registration. Bot registration, yes, you need that. I'm coming to that question. And app manifest, again, to make your Teams client understand that there is a messaging extension for this app. And this is probably how it would look like inside the manifest to show that there is a messaging extension. You will have the bot ID, you'll have the type that it's a query or an action-based messaging extension, and you also have, if it's a search one, you'll have like a parameter with which you can search. Now, the main question we always get when we explain this is, why do I need a bot if I only want a messaging extension? That's a bit tricky to answer, but I would say that this is needed for the purpose of authenticating into the bot framework services, like I mentioned before, so that you're currently for Teams, it's only possible for your application to authenticate using the bot framework SDK and then call something like call your bot or web service through registering a bot in Azure bot. And why? Because again, it's to make the authentication easier for the SDK. It's also the fact that your web service is actually nowhere mentioned inside the manifest file. If you notice, you're only giving the bot ID, and that's kind of a bit more secure in your level as well. But we'll see more about that later on. Task modules, I already mentioned what they are. They're these pop-ups that you can run your own web page. You can show an iframe or you can show an adaptive card. And deep links, another concept is, oh my God, I cannot emphasize how beautiful deep links are in Teams applications, because so many times when you click on something, it goes to another browser. if I want to file, I'm opening up in something in SharePoint already. I don't know. I'm like everywhere. M365. I'm just everywhere, opening up 100 different browsers. But imagine if your application is able to understand how links work within Teams, and it opens things up inside Teams. Everything, the file opens up in Teams. It goes to a tab. If you click on an order, maybe or a candidate, if you click on that candidate, it goes in within the Teams tab with a configuration tab where it shows that particular candidate information instead of going into another system. All this is pretty useful, and you might think these are simple things, but it enhances your experience so much better as a user, because most of the time when we're developing things, we don't think about users, and that's a hard fact. But when you are that person who's not technically, like forward yet with those things, and you find that everything is working as it should be inside Teams, I'm not going in different places, it's a relief for the user, and they will give you thumbs up if you try and put these things in. You can currently do like a deep link to a tab, to a chat, to a group chat. You can deep link to a file, to an application, saying that if you need to use this, download this application. If you want to link a audio or video call, you can do that. Not meetings. Meetings are not supported. You can deep link to a scheduling dialog as well, which is in preview, which is basically you're opening up a meeting request form, not the meeting itself. So that's deep links and webhook and connectors. So many things I'm rushing through, but I hope I can finish it. But webhook and connectors help. They're useful when you want to like send notification from within Teams or into Teams. It's kind of like one-way street, which happens. Not conversational like bot, but they are pretty useful if you want to. For example, when there's a candidate information coming into the HR system, imagine that directly coming in as a notification to Katie and Bob in our demo, saying that, hey, there's a new applicant in this particular thing. Go have a look at this. And then you click on it and it opens up the candidate. That would be awesome, right? You don't really have to refresh or go back and things like that. So connectors are pretty useful when you want to have that kind of a flow. There is something called incoming webhooks, which are also pretty useful. I will put everything in the links. And this is actually in the recruiters, the HR talent application. You will see this connector. It's a custom connector, which actually will show you that whenever a candidate, you can see here, so connectors, you're basically going to add this custom connector into a channel. Oh, and that's one thing. Connectors work within a Teams channel. So it's not, so bots are useful when you want flexibility around that. When you want one-on-one or group chat and things like that, you use bot. And if you want like notifications within a team, you would use this connectors. So here you can see we have set up a connector, and in the hiring board, whenever a candidate is interviewed and that candidate is given an offer, we need to send notification out to different teams saying that this person is now hired. So that's what we're doing here. This is again the HR system where we're offering someone a job, and you can see here the notification lit up in two different channels and saying that this person is now offered a job. So these kind of information are useful again for people to again stay in the context. So that's connectors and adaptive cards. I think a lot of people here already know about adaptive cards. If you don't know, they're awesome. They are powered by, I think it's a JSON file, and they are basically everywhere. If you're a Windows user, you've seen them in multiple areas, like in Outlook form. I'm sorry, there's an ambulance that's just screaming. And then there is notification for Windows. All these are actually powered, first party powered by adaptive cards. They are amazing because they make your life so much easier. You don't have to worry about styling them. You cannot custom style them. Probably not best practice, even if you could. So they are used within Teams to draw people's attention into things because they're actionable. You can click stuff, you can do stuff using these adaptive cards. They are interactive. They assume that style of the host they're in. So wherever they are, like in Teams, they act like Teams. In Outlook, they act like Outlook. So that's adaptive cards, and you can go to adaptivecards.io to have the samples and other documentation that you need. There's a nice playground where you can go ahead and drag and drop things and create your own cards. And a small word for the M365 platform community, where I know most of you are already part of it, but if you're not, go ahead and search for https://pnp.github.io. The community is where you thrive with this kind of information for these kind of um, samples and all the new updates, etc. I'm part of this community. I'm so proud to be. And that's about the community. And if you want to find everything related to Teams platform, you can go to this link, ako.ms/teams-glossary. This is a revamp work recently done by my colleague Tomomi, where she has gone in and made it as interactive and interesting as possible to make this one whole topic that's the Teams platform interesting. So have a look, and that's all for today. I hope I didn't burn people's brain here, and I hope people are still alive. Say if you are. So thank you so much for listening to all this. Thank you so much.